My next guest, Jaxon Bear Dreamer Kochamp. I wrestled with him at Sierra College back, I guess, in 2000. And we've been friends ever since. We've been roommates, and a lot of crazy stories that we actually don't talk about. We just get right into it. Might be hard to follow sometimes, going on a lot of tangents, sometimes referring to things or incidences that weren't fully explained, but more will come out as we continue this conversation and many more to come. I hope you enjoy. Bye-bye. Audio's bad news. Bad news bears. Bad news bear dreamer bears.
How's the audio now?
Audio's good right now.
Is it good? Okay.
Now you're dark.
So I actually, here, let me get my light. So I actually did a job interview right where I'm standing for a like a next gen hydrogen vehicle, whatever, you know what I mean? Like the opposite of Tesla. Instead of being run by electricity, ion batteries, it was run by hydrogen.
Okay.
So I actually did an interview just like what we're doing right now.
Yeah.
And so that's how I've been indigenizing technology. So I don't have to travel, and I can use it to where I could just stay home and just be, just be your average guy who can't afford to travel, but is using technology to his advantage.
And so what kind of, I mean, you were working at Tesla, and I mean, hydrogen, that sounds like still kind of green energy, or no? Sounds cool. How does that work?
It's greener.
It's greener. So, it's not really opposite. It's just, it's further. I mean, it's.
Okay. So when I'm running around at Burning Man, that's who I'm running around with, are the people who know how, are like the engineers who know how to build this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Because if you look at it, is something like this, if you were to buy it in the store, would cost you like, shoot, I don't know, $1,500, let's say. But if you buy the batteries yourself and then buy a couple Home Depot toolboxes, you can put it in there and then put the inverter on top, and then you can just roll them around and plug them into just plug them in like this. Is you could have one sitting in there, one sitting out here, plugged in and charging from the sun, and then when that one runs out, you could swap them out. So I've been experimenting with that on which batteries work best. Or right now, I'm just using what is it? See, I know nothing about electricity or batteries. I'm just teaching myself as I go along, because I'm a plumber, but I have all the tools. So as long as I have the tools and then I have the internet, I could teach myself pretty much how to do anything. So that's what I did was, so I learned from you was I saw you be a minimalist before being a minimalist was a thing. So I go, what's an example? So when I'm running around at Burning Man, it's like, okay, well, there's everything you could do, imaginable, because it's a city, there's like orgy tents, there's freaking, there's Satanists, Muslim, Jewish people, there's everything you could almost kind of think of, you could stumble upon and everything like that. So I'm like, what could I utilize more when I go back to my default world life, And so I'm like, well, I better hang out with renewable energy people, and then so when I talked to them, this was back in 2017, and then 2018, they're saying in Japan alone right now, there's 20 some odd electric car vehicle manufacturing places. He goes, so you got to think, is if they're already that much further ahead than us, watch the price of batteries skyrocket, and then you can see that. You can see that now, because solar panels are actually pretty cheap. It's just the batteries that actually store the power that you need or what's expensive.
And then so that raw material too, what is it, lithium or something, cobalt or whatever? I don't know what type of stuff.
What I'm finding is like lithium and cobalt is they're finding is that's the new thing is. So I guess up in from an indigenous perspective, okay, so lithium, for instance, is the McDermott Paiute Shoshone tribe up on the border of Nevada and Idaho right now is they are battling a what is it? I think it's Lithium America, is they're trying to start mining on a old massacre site where a bunch of Indians are massacred. And then so they kind of, so ever since then, it's kind of been like, don't go over there because fucking people have been fucking killed and there's fucking, I don't, everybody has their own taboos or religions or ways because, but you have to look at American Indians is our culture. A lot of it has been stolen because when we were sent to the boarding schools, the kids weren't their language and their mouths were washed out with soap, or they're tortured or whatever, depending on where they were or who was in charge of them. You figure that's how you kill off a culture fastest, is once you don't speak your language anymore. Where's your,
well, especially if there's no
where's your
origin records. That's
especially because that goes on with our what is it, our oral tradition, because so that this is where you would understand. So our quote unquote, so that's where you get into language. So from the European perspective, they're saying, okay, well, those are Native American myths, but those are really our origin stories. So when I go up and I speak to the some people on the reservation, and then I'm sitting here talking, and then they're like, man, you got mad white man skills, because I get discriminated on, because they look at me as, they call me apple, red on the outside, white on the end, because I talk like, I talk like a Northern California white boy, you know what I mean? And then that follows me wherever I go. So back to the language. And then where was I going with the language? So when I'm rolling around at Burning Man, is I'm talking to, elite people, business people, doctors, lawyers, or whoever, and there's people who drink, don't drink, there's drugs or whatever, whatever's floating around. We get into these conversations, and then what was I, where was I going with that?
We were talking about
we start talking about so go back. See, this is why I need
that was originally kind of
on point.
Lots of language from the boarding schools, and then you were talking about we were actually talking about lithium and how there's that certain area that there was a massacre there, so the natives whose land that is probably are fighting for the lithium, to prevent lithium extraction from that area.
Oh yeah. So what we're finding out is that what we are is we're actually is you're going to hear certain language being utilized out throughout Indian country, and what they is people talk about sovereignty, and then you're going to hear the American government and stuff like that talking about how they're going to aid Ukraine in achieving their sovereignty. But in the end, is Ukraine is just like us. We over here is we're considered a domestic dependent nation. We don't have sovereignty because we are dependent on federal grants from the government that are from wealth created on our natural resources. So they look at, it's written in our laws, is they look at us as a guardian to a child. And so they have what's called a trust. So they have what's called a trust responsibility over American Indians to take care of them with the utmost, as I should, I'll just, so trust, where's that? There it is. So order number 3335. Subject, reaffirmation of the federal trust responsibility to federally recognized Indian tribes and individual beneficiaries. So section 1, purpose. In 2009, Secretary's Order 3292 established a Secretarial Commission on Indian Trust Administration and Reform Commission. The commission issued its final report and recommendations in December 2013, which sets forth its views and recommendations regarding the United States trust responsibility. In response to the report, this order sets forth guiding principles that, because our bureaus and offices will follow to ensure that the Department of Interior Department fulfills its trust responsibility. So, background. I'll kind of go over little tiny ones. So, background, section 3. I'll skip over section 2, which has the authority. And then it says section 3, background. The trust responsibility is well-established legal principle that has its origins with.
We lost him. That's all right. I'm sure he'll come back. Here he is.
Okay. In the modern era, presidents, Congress, and past secretaries of the Interior have recognized the trust responsibility repeatedly and have strongly emphasized the importance of honoring the United States trust responsibility to federally recognized tribes and individual Indian beneficiaries. So, pretty much it's saying that since we're little kids and at this time we didn't speak English or anything like that, they're supposed to make sure that we're not going to get screwed over in any way. Pretty much.
Okay.
But both of
how's that worked out?
both of us kind of know. Yeah, both of us kind of know how that worked out.
Well, you might be able to
there.
Hey, wait, darkness, but so yeah.
So that's what separates I guess my status from I guess people who are a state citizen is that we're supposed to have federal we have federal status to where as we're walking around what's the best way to put it is okay. So driving is I have a federal ID that recognizes me as part of a federally recognized tribe.
Mm-hmm. Oh.
So when I pull out my federal ID and they say, I see that California ID, let me see that. And I'm like, no, this is a tribal matter. And this is on the reservation.
Okay, yeah.
And I go, and he goes, yeah, and he goes, no, I'll take that Nevada state ID because I have a Nevada and a California state ID. And I go, no, it's a tribal matter. I go, I'm traveling in prayer under the American Indian Religious Freedoms Act. I go, my rights are not a privilege. I'm exercising my rights. I'm not driving. I'm traveling.
Yeah.
And so it pissed him off. He goes 10 times out of 10, if you're going to argue that in the court with a judge, he's going to convict you. I go, well, you call it whatever you want. I go, we're on federal land and you're supposed to be adhering to federal laws, not enforcing codes and statutes on me. Yeah. And so that's the language that we're having to start to use. But the Indians on the reservation, some of the Indians on the reservation, is they're not hip to it because we've basically been signing off we've been assimilating. So before we used to be able to not have license plates and registration to drive around, but now we do because someone in the
tribe
order
decided it. I mean, you can make new. You started out like wild and free. You didn't have to abide to any laws, but then you kind of once you write a law, then it's just like America. I mean, America was wild and free at 1.2. I mean, not for the natives, of course, but when white men were running rampant and wild. I mean, everyone was, but they just had firepower that was a little stronger.
You got to look at you got to look at it as everyone was wild.
Yeah, yeah, everyone.
But
Yeah, yeah.
so I guess what I'm finding out now though is even though they changed the laws, is that we still have reserved laws because so what I'm finding out is okay, so let's say they pull me because I've been watching I've been watching this guy's YouTube videos and he does this here and I know him. He's from Loomis and he drives around with no license plates, no registration, and writes "fuck you, pig" on the VIN number. So when they pull him over, he goes and they try to look on the VIN number, it says "fuck you, pig," and he rolls down his window just this enough, this much, and he has his passport. And in the California DMV, there is it's called a DL 142 and you can Google it, and it's an application to relinquish your driver's license and or California ID. And so you literally just relinquish it and you're supposed to drop out of the system because you don't have a contract with them anymore.
It's still probably not good
commercially.
Police officers like that. I mean,
but he's getting away with it.
Yeah.
Now think about it. C. David. Okay, so you can. Okay, so C. David is indoctrinated. I can already tell. He's like, hey, that's not good because if me and my family are traveling, Jaxon Kochamp's driving around with no license plates, no insurance. Okay, so now C. David's pulling me over. So C. David, ask me for my license and registration.
License and registrations, please.
So I have, let's just say my tribal ID right here, and you're like, what the fuck is this? You know, I'm like, well, it's a federal ID that
what's this bootleg shit?
What's this bootleg shit? And then you're like, okay, well, license registration, you don't have any plates, you don't have any tags, anything on your car, so I have probable cause to pull you over, Jaxon, you scumbag Indian. And I'm like, okay, am I under arrest? Or am I being detained? C. David goes, well, yeah, you're stopped and I'm right here. Am I under arrest? And C. David goes, yes, you are, because I have probable cause, because I think you could be moving drugs in an unmarked vehicle. And I go, okay, well, let me speak to my lawyer. What happens then? We're sitting on the side of the road. And then you go, okay, well, I go, well, what are you going to do now? Just drag me out of the car? Well, I'm not answering any more questions until I see a lawyer. Then what are you supposed to do? So then I've seen this guy, he asks for a supervisor. So you figure that a supervisor knows more than a beat cop. That's why he's in a supervisor role. So then he comes in and automatically that takes away all their jurisdiction. They can't even do anything because it's basically saying you're appealing to a higher person. So when he comes, he knows all the stuff that you're speaking because those guys are only taught codes and statutes, which really aren't laws. It's just like it's okay. So a perfect example of how America got out of control is Jaxon Kochamp C. David comes up to Jaxon Kochamp, the Indian, and just steals his land. And then so since Jaxon Kochamp doesn't speak English, C. David turns around and goes and writes the law saying, hey, I just slapped Jaxon Kochamp and I took his land. And so since he didn't do anything, let's just write a law saying that if you slap Jaxon Kochamp and take his land, it's a law because he didn't do anything about it. So, free to do. And so that's basically things got out of hand because the United States doesn't exist without the American Indian because whenever, like, let's say George Washington was trying to go and fight the colony or whatever, they ran into C. David's people out there who are the Delaware people or whatever. And he's like, oh shit, man, these guys do not even want us here. And they're not even going to be empathetic to our cause because they don't want us here anyway. Like, why would they let us through their territory so we can go fight the British? And then so George Washington approaches C. David and said, hey man, I know you guys are fucking a wild ass tribe, and you may call in De La Vega from the West Coast to come and back you up with his Filipino Indians. How about this? How about we sign a contract saying that you're you're allowing us to go across and fight the British, and then we'll defeat them, and then both of us are good. We don't got to deal with these colonial people anymore, even though we're colonists ourselves.
Yeah.
So that's how the United States was born, with the first treaty, whichever the one that was. And I'm pretty sure it has to do with the Delaware or something like that.
Yeah.
So these are the kind of
I always heard George Washington crossed the Delaware. Yeah.
Something like that. Well, those are, and then when I get into argument,
right now your camera's sideways, but okay, yeah, I don't know why it turned. Okay, now it's right side up, but But before it was right side up. Now it's a long ways. But yeah, no, that's cool. That's cool. I think you're good.
So you figure the United States didn't even exist until it made those treaties with the American Indian.
So you're saying,
Because without those,
did those treaties happen pre 1776, pre Declaration of Independence? Then those were
yeah,
okay. So oh yeah, those are colonial laws.
yeah.
Uh,
So
okay.
the United States doesn't exist without those treaties. Because how
Yeah,
are you going to say, how
yeah,
is
yeah,
David going to say he's American until he actually comes into contact with an American Indian?
yeah, yeah,
So this is all new stuff that's starting to come out, because not even the Indians know this kind of stuff. All we
yeah,
know is 1492 Columbus sailed the ocean blue, and that's been our history ever since. Was all the, land grabs or whatever you want to call it.
yeah.
I try to stay on the positive aspect of it, but the American Indian history, as we all know, is very
Well,
horrible.
oh
But
yeah,
me is
yeah,
just want to be here as an educator and just tell that side of the story, and then move on. Because if you look at the way things are going now, is all of our natural resources are dwindling, and then that affects everybody, whether you're rich, poor, black, red, yellow, or green. Is water is the most important natural resource in the world, and it's starting to dwindle.
yeah. I got my well water, hand well water. That's that's the most important thing to me. I'm still, that's the one thing I'm close to a river. I got my life straw, which like I've got two of them that, just in case. I've got my hand pump for well water. Although if you only drink well water, you'll probably get kidney stones because there's like really high mineral content, but it's free of bacteria or and stuff. So, but yeah, no, water's so important. That's like, because that's instant. I mean, it's better than food. We can go a month without food. I mean, but and you can find food. You can forage for food. I mean, you can eat little grass and bugs and bark and stuff. I mean, but water, yeah, take water. I mean,
You really could. You really could eat bugs, huh, and survive.
I would rather eat bugs than I would rather eat bugs than a mammal or a fish or anything. I mean, I would, if I had to eat meat in some situation, a bug would be the first thing I ate. Worms, bugs. I mean, the less but I don't ever see myself in that situation. That's what everyone says. Like, oh, if you had to eat meat, would you? And I mean, I'd
Are you still a vegan?
yeah, yeah, yeah,
A vegan or vegetarian?
vegan. I've been vegan at least, I don't know how, 6, 7
Wait,
years.
wait, you stepped up your game and went from vegetarian to straight up vegan now?
Yeah. I was vegetarian since I was 10 years old, so 30 years or but it was like 20 something years of vegetarian. And then yeah, I switched it up. I actually did it because my wife was, I wanted to, I like being when I was a vegetarian, we'd go out to restaurants and stuff. I love sharing different food and stuff. Sometimes I could convince her to get a couple vegetarian meals and eat them together, but she ate meat. And then I found one of those documentaries from Animal Farm to Plate or something, and I showed it to her because I was kind of trying to get her to become a vegetarian, and she watched it, and she was watching it, and then I was like, I hadn't watched the whole thing. It went through the whole. It was actually a pro-vegan video, and I didn't know that. So it just, I had only watched like cows. They did the chicken industry, the pig industry, cow industry, and stuff. And then I got her. I saw her emotional. She was crying when she was watching it. So I was like, okay, that's good. We can stop. And she's like, no, keep watching it. Then it went to the egg industry. Then it went to the dairy industry, and those are even worse. And at that time, I ate more eggs and more dairy than your average person because I thought vegetarian was deficient in protein. So I was always, the whole time you knew me, and I was always eating extra milk and extra eggs. And then she watched that, and she was like, no. So she went from meat eater to vegan like that. I was vegetarian for 25 years, and then I was like, oh shit, I just created a monster. But then I was like, okay, well, hey, if she's willing to just drop everything and become vegan, I'm like, okay, well, I could dig that. I could do it. Best decision. I feel so much healthier ever since. And I wish I would have done it as a fighter. I realized that the egg and the milk and stuff, that shit was making me heavy. Would have been easier to cut weight. I would have been lighter. I would have been faster. I would have been meaner. But yeah, I mean, I've been vegan ever since. When people talk about, I mean, I hate it because, you know, I see the cycles where it gets all like political and stuff. Hey, it's just my preference, man. 100% preference. Why are you a vegan? Preference, period. Nothing else. I can argue that it's healthier. I can argue that it's better for the environment or for animal rights, but all those arguments you can pick apart. Preference, 100%. It's more delicious. It's just better. I like it. That's what I want to eat. I don't. It's like somebody goes like this about like, hey, you know, you want to suck dick or something. It's like, hey, preference, right? Whatever you want to do. And somebody's like, because sometimes people will be like, well, what if I could make a fake meat? They make fake meat.
And you got to say, I want to suck a dick as I'm sucking on a pipe right now. And that just ruined my. I'm like, oops.
Yeah, just preference, whatever you want to do. It's to be like, if I could make vegetarian, it was 100% vegan, but it tasted exactly like meat, would you eat it? I'm like, no. Like, I don't, why would I? Somebody would say, well, what if you could create it in a lab? Because I guess that's what they're doing. Would you eat it? They're like, well, why won't you eat it? You didn't kill an animal. I'm like, I don't want it. Like, there's no, it's not.
Okay, the word soft disclosure, what does that mean to you?
Soft disclosure. I mean, to me, I don't know, but if I were to just hear that,
okay. Tell me. Oh yeah, tell me what you think it means then.
Okay, I mean, it sounds like you're giving some information indirectly. It sounds like implied disclosure. Yeah, you're implying something.
Okay. So I've been expanding my, I guess my consciousness or whatever, or thinking about different stuff. So you got oh yeah, back to kind of like walking around with like when I'm walking around at Burning Man, I run into random people. And they're like, hey man, are you native? Are you from here? And I'm like, yeah. And then so I'm having the same exact conversation that I'm having with you. And then so back to when I talk to people from the reservation, and then they're like, they see that I'm actually educated and I grew up around my oppressors. And then so I know my enemy. And this, when I go around them, I'm like, I said, okay, so I go, don't you guys know, that movie, or that the Greek myth, like the allegory of the cave, Plato's allegory of the cave, or Prometheus, or any of that?
Yeah.
Do you know Prometheus?
Prometheus is gonna be.
He stole fire from the gods and brought it to man.
Okay.
And then this, and they're like, no, and then one of the guys who tries to like live outdoors and just be like a savage and stuff, his name's Lyle, and he catches on. He goes, the fucking white man's fucking myth, or was it creation stories? And I go, don't you fools? I go, where the fuck do you guys think I came from? I came from fucking California, and I'm coming up here to a third world country that you guys are fucking living for free on, and I got all this fucking, I got this whole different mentality. I've grown up around Russians, around fucking, crazy fucking O-town boys. They're showing me fucking a whole different freaking, way of thinking. I go, and then I come up here, and you guys are all living in a cave, kind of. I go, you guys only see things a certain way, and they don't realize what I'm talking about. And I explain the allegory of the cave. I'm all, you guys are sitting here living in here in a closed off environment, controlled environment. Yeah. I go, and then there's somebody behind you showing you movies and everything like that, and you guys are watching it on the wall and trying to figure out who or what is playing it behind you. And then I've escaped it and went out and looked around and and saw stuff. And I'm coming in here and saying, hey dudes, this is what's going on over here. You don't even know what's going on, but some way it's affecting you because, and then so that is in a nutshell kind of the way that we are as American Indians, and us and then other people. Actually, I would say everybody is starting to have an awakening, because I have to go and, I go and research like the Hopi prophecies, and then I'll send you the link. I sent you the links actually, and then that's what it said is on a wall with their little petroglyphs and everything. It has like a little man, and then some of it, and it actually has the swastika, and then it has the iron cross, and then the old man, he goes, and these two people, and he points to those two symbols. So it goes hand in hand with like the Da Vinci Code and all that, with like the symbols mean something. These two people, or group of people, they shook us up real bad the time, and then we defeated them, and then they're going to come back. And then he goes, and then eventually he goes, when you see man go up and try to live in the sky, he goes, that's when you need to start learning to live down here, because something's gonna happen. And then he goes to say, he says that something is kind of going to come down here, and it's going to paralyze all of the technology. And then think about.
I mean, I've been hearing that. I mean, aliens are getting more and more common. Weird shit with all that, for sure. Yeah.
Right. This is right up your alley too. So what is an alien? Now think about it. Now we're going deep. So think about it. Okay, so what is the definition of a human being, and what is the definition of an alien? And then look what's going on right now, the big debate in the world right now, transgender. So yeah. if you were a government, and you're trying to smuggle in aliens, is how better way than be like, oh, well, it's not really a man, it's not really a woman, it's transgender, so we'll give it the same rights as everything else.
Yeah.
So yeah, see, I know that sparked your interest right there.
Well, it did. I mean, transgender is absolutely, that stuff, it creeps into every conversation. It's so weird. There's so much stuff going on there. It actually gave me an idea earlier when you were saying that you were at this is just something to play around with. When you said that Native American are treated as like a child of the American government, but a lot of these transgender, right, they're saying affirm the child's belief. Doesn't matter biological, whatever. You have to affirm their belief. So if the law becomes where it doesn't matter, whatever your child says, you have to affirm their belief, then you completely have control of your destiny, because whatever you say, you can use that as affirm. Whatever we say is, you must affirm it, because you are our legal guardians, and you are required by law to affirm whatever we say.
But the catch-22 is saying that is you're admitting to being a domestic dependent nation.
Yeah.
It's stupid to take care of yourself, and so.
Well, I mean, if you can uproot that, then you uproot everything. We have to write a new constitution and everything, right? I mean, because that's basically the Constitution. Is we think of the Constitution as the fundamental. Everything's built off that. And if there's something under this Constitution, the Constitution can only be implicated if these initial treaties exist, and if we can take those away. So I don't want to take the Constitution away, because I see that as being a yeah.
Well, the Constitution. Well, the original Constitution, before it was all things were X'd out and rewritten like the Bible. So here's a perfect example right here.
You only got 1 minute. Wait, here, let's just log. You want to log back in?
Okay.
Same link. Oh, okay.
Right now?
Yeah. Because we got less than 1 minute. It's gonna cut out. So yeah, let's just do it.
So log out and log in.
Yep. Whoa, there he is. 1 second gone and token it up.
Well, see, and I've had to explain this to my little guy too. Is I told him, I'm like, see, this is the difference between use and abuse. Is now it's to the point where Daddy has to use it as a crutch, and it's not even doing anything. It's just a bad habit. And then so I have to explain that kind of stuff to my little guy, the difference between medicine and drugs.
So you got him back?
Not well. I'm actually well before I'm doing all the paperwork. I went up to so I went up to so we have a meeting for the community, and then so they were bringing up the fact that people don't lock up their dogs, and nobody's done that before, and then so kids get chased when they're driving their or riding their bikes or whatever,
Yeah.
and then so they dog catch or animal control full time. And so I go, how much is this going to cost, the tribe? We just had a man convicted for killing another man off the reservation for methamphetamine. This man was on probation here with the tribe for years. We're in a foreign nation. He on the 27th, he leaves this foreign nation, the Indian reservation,
Yeah, yeah.
goes into he's on probation with the tribe, with the police, leaves a foreign
Oh,
nation, goes,
tribal police probation. So he's
yeah,
not allowed to leave the res. Okay.
go
Or
he go goes into the state of Nevada, which is basically like kind of like across the street,
yeah.
murks the man for methamphetamine. Our police department is the first on the scene, and then the guy is walking around for 3 days until they pick him up for unrelated charges. And then when they take him in to the county jail, because we don't have our own jail, so they have to take us out of the reservation into the county jail because we're too poor to have our own jail.
Why? You
So
should make one, like just like a mud house or something. I mean, like or some sort of pit. Make a pit that you can't climb out of. Just dig a big ass hole. In fact, make the criminals dig the hole. You can do that
like
shit, right?
we're supposed to, really.
Yeah.
But this is a perfect example of why we're a domestic dependent nation. So think about it: is we're supposed to be governing ourselves, but we don't have a fucking jail, so we have to subcontract with fucking the state of Nevada,
Yeah.
with the local county, instead of having our own pit, like in Young Guns 2, where Chavez and all those guys are in there, and then Billy the Kid breaks them out. But
Yeah.
okay, so walking around for 3 days, and then they pick him up on an unrelated charge for the tribe, take him in, and then while he's there, then the state of Nevada comes in and charges him.
Oh,
So I'm bringing up that fact is, so you guys are going to go out. You guys are complaining right now that we don't have enough police. So you're going to divert money and get a dog catcher. And we just had this fucking murder happen. That's only one example of, stuff that goes on out there. And granted, this man lived across the street from me and attacked me before,
yeah.
you know, you know how that is,
Doesn't
that's,
go well. Doesn't go well. You definitely shot a
mm,
double on him.
yeah.
Freight train too. It's not. Yeah. Not a nice little glide and legs, just straight in.
um, but that's just one example right there of why we're a domestic dependent nation. Is, look, you guys, we give you guys this money, you guys can't dig your own pit, you guys can't make Jaxon Kochamp dig his own pit. We know how he likes to live, and he would be glad to dig his own pit and make his own furniture and then just be by himself and not have to worry about the woes of society. Just feed, come by, give him some oatmeal, and he'll be doing his prison workout like C. David told him to do, and lose 30 pounds in a month.
So where are you now? You're not on you're traveling, or you're posted up right there, Grass Valley. What are you doing there?
I'm posted up.
You posted up for how long? And how long have you been there?
I have. So you got, okay. So right now, so you figures on outside of the United States on the Pyramid Lake Paiute reservations, I have a 3-bedroom, 1 bath house that I renovated, and I own it free and clear, no property taxes. And the power's turned off. So I went from, and I told Coach Reyes this too, as a coach, when COVID happened, I went in to get all the beans and rice, the stuff that scumbag wrestlers would buy, and everything was bought out except for all the big stuff, which was what I wanted. So I went and bought like 50 pounds of beans, 50 pounds of rice, 50 pounds of sugar, 50 pounds of flour, and just dumped them in Home Depot buckets. And he goes, and he goes, That's how I do. That's how my house in Mexico is.
Yeah, yeah.
I go, Coach, where do you think I live? I live in a third world Mexico country outside of the United States. So plus I don't pay for water because I'm on the tribes grid because we're Indians.
How does that work? Do you have to uh source your own water and filter it, or you're subcontracting that from
No, we're on the tribes grid. So if they go down, I go down, which only makes me want to do what you're doing and get a hand pump just in case, you
yeah,
know.
water's
So,
like the
so
number one thing. Yeah, yeah, that's scary, man. It's just I have if I feel antsy. I don't like I hate buildings. I'm like that. I'm just like if shit went down and I was stuck in this building, we're gonna run out of water real quick.
so think about this. So okay, so a guy, and this is right up your alley. So a high level Bitcoin guy. We were having the same conversation out
Well, yeah,
at the
you
car.
told me who. Yeah, 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 I remember you talking about that guy. Yeah,
And
the
this is, oh
actor,
yes.
the guy from Mighty Ducks, right? No, different guy.
So this is what I'm trying to tell you is, can we even tell the truth anymore? Because let's say I say that this happened and he could turn around and say that didn't happen.
And then you could make it AI augmented reality that looks real and it didn't happen, and post it and say that you're
So
fake
that
news.
so that's what I'm saying is, in order to circumvent something like that, is, have you seen that movie The Watchmen or heard of it? It was created of a graphic novel slash comic book.
No, I know. Tell me about it.
Okay, so it's about superheroes back in like the 50s or something like that, and it created and then so it has to do with, like, there's a guy named Dr. Manhattan. He had a, just like every superhero, had a horrible accident, but then comes back as and basically has godlike powers.
Mm-hmm.
So he helps President Nixon win the war in Vietnam, and then Vietnam actually becomes like the 52nd state. And then they go into, like, some of the other superheroes were actually in on killing Kennedy and then altering the universe. Robert Redford becomes president. And if you think about it, how far off is that if Robert Redford was the president, and then in reality another actor,
Yeah,
Reagan,
yeah,
you know
yeah.
and then if you look at what's going on right now with, like, Jeff Bezos launching his fucking dildo up in the air and
I
then
didn't hear
going
about
up,
that. He's doing stuff. I mean,
he launched his own, was it Blue Dream or something like that, up into space,
okay.
and then went up and came down. And then they were talking about, like, CNN or whatever. I heard you guys talk about CNN. So you figure it's on, like, all the mainstream news, and they're going, Jeff Bezos, he's going in the air like a Titan. So people really are becoming gods and titans now. The myths are being rewritten because, let's say, Jackson Kochamp can't say that he talked to C. David, so he makes up a comic book that's kind of almost like a parallel universe, but is simultaneously telling the truth.
Yeah.
That's almost where we're living right now, is because you can't really tell the truth anymore. Because let's say I see David was in, instead of where you are right now, as he was in France and stuff like that. How do I even know if that's real? What is reality now? Did I see it with my own eyes, or did C. David create it? Like, he's the Mandarin and what movie is that? Captain America? Oh no, Iron Man 3.
I didn't get
You
that.
don't even you
Yeah, I might have seen one of those at one point. I don't know.
TV, do you?
No, no, no. I mean, I only have the internet. Yeah, I don't have any. I mean, I could see like CNN or something. I might. They post it on YouTube, I might watch it. I added CNN to my Twitter. I just started using Twitter actually after Elon Musk got it and kind of made it. I'm actually trying. Actually, what I want to do is these Twitter Spaces. You can like get people on and talk. You can get up to 10 people and you do it live. That's interesting. Eventually, I want to turn this podcast into that. Like I think it's a good platform. So I started using Twitter, but all you look at, if somebody looks at who I'm following Oh yeah, I follow CNN. I follow Biden. I want to know what. I mean, he's obviously not right. And I follow all these people and just like people that are influential or have a narrative. I just want to know what are they thinking. And so I'll read some headlines, but I didn't catch any of those. But then but movies or no cable. I mean, I have no cable, no. I don't know any new movies that have come out in the last 20 years. And
Well, the internet is like the well. I see the way I roll. So I don't even have a T. I have a TV in there, but I don't even use it because I basically just roll with I roll like how Murat does with his purse, except for my purse looks cooler. And then I have my iPad Pro, my iPad Pencil that is lost right now, and then my phone, and then that's I have a leather case that has like all of my important documents because you really do almost have to walk around with your paperwork because like you got to have it all there. I remember how Murat used to always run around with his purse,
yeah,
and I want to accentuate the purse because I have a satchel because
yeah,
Indiana Jones, you know.
yeah,
But um uh what else could we touch base on? See, we could go. You and we could talk. That's why when I meet up with Coach Reyes, is we got to stay on point because like we could talk about anything, So I'm like, hey, Coach. I was like, so I go. So long story short, when I told him, I go, something happened to my kid and nobody helped me. Not my people, not my family. I go, white people and Mexicans help me. I go, and he goes, see, Kochamp, he goes, when you realize nobody will help you, that's when you made progress. And I was like, damn, Coach, that's a cold ass world right there.
yeah, yeah. So
Oh,
I asked you
what? Go
about
ahead.
your son, and you started telling me about that method that crossed the street and got arrested, and you had to subcontract your jail. So yeah,
And then, so the police chief was up there. So that's what I was asking. And I laid that all out, and I go,
okay,
not to mention, I go, and what about the kidnappings and the child abuses? Because my son's mom has a warrant out, and somehow she's been able to elude prosecution and all this, and been
yeah.
able to stalk me. And
And
so that's
she's
what
res jumping, or she's okay.
that's so somehow she's been able to elude the police, and she only lives like a half mile from the police station and the courthouse. So I don't know. She's a mastermind, and it's documented that she doesn't have a job and shit. So she must just fucking know how to fucking survive.
Yeah.
So so where I am right there is I'm basically just going to go over there and start and file probably this week an ex parte court order, and then hopefully get an order to where I can just go find him and get him, and then just have him because it's summertime, and then I have a job to where I can be with him at the same time, and then teach him because I'm thinking about homeschooling him.
Homeschooling. Yeah, yeah. That's what we're doing. I mean, Chai has only 3 right now, but we already started. Like, it's not, you don't have to legally have them in school until 7, but we're just doing all the paperwork, applying, because I'm sure they'll deny us first time, because there's all these restrictions, and so we're just getting all ready, make sure we have it, do it, do all the administration bullshit, and then but I mean, yeah, I mean, but we're gonna get them in different, like, yeah, I want to do different, all, swimming classes and Chinese classes, do like different extra dance lessons, gymnastics, some sports, and all these, like, whatever, like, fun stuff for when he's little. I'm trying to get him in. I tried to take him to this Chinese class, but it was like, I thought they were gonna sing songs and just like learn words, and it was like formal, sitting in classroom. I was like, wow, this is stupid. He's 3 years old, like, but I want him to learn. He's picking up languages. Like, I mean, he speaks English and Thai like perfect, and switches it back and forth. He'll run and talk to grandma in English. She'll say something to him, and he'll run back and translate it in Thai, and back and forth. I was like, hey, let's get another language in there.
Yeah, see, and that's the conundrum. That's the moral slash legal conundrum right there. Is so my son is I got him into school. He was 2 years behind because he was being dragged from
Yeah,
wherever. And when I got him in, and right away, what does he know? He knows the Pledge of Allegiance. And I told him, I was like, I was like, Sonny, I'm all I was like, you don't know this, but you know the Pledge of Allegiance to a government that does not even uphold its trust responsibility to you.
Yeah.
And then so that's so I guess that's what I was trying to explain to somebody else is so when I'm here in Placer County and then Loomis, because this is like my area,
Yeah.
like literally I really am like from right here. And then when I talked to who was it? Mike Anderson was talking about gentrification, and then Mike, I go, Coach Mikey. Um, the white man may call it gentrification, but the American Indian calls it genocide. Okay, so it's just like Alex Jones is. We're in an information wars. Is people want to paint this pretty picture, but then there's Jax Kochamp sitting there saying, "Hey, what? I'm from here, and then all these rich people move in over here, and then now what? I'm a beggar. Like I gotta ask literally, like, hey man, can I park my trailer over on your property? Well, no, only if you pay. Oh, okay, I guess.
Yeah.
you know, but I mean, and then so we were talking, and then so when I was running around with a guy named Myron Dewey, and he was the one who went over and he documented like the human rights violations over at Standing Rock, and then he was using his drone to fly up, and then was getting badge numbers or watching when the cops were spraying people with water and
Oh,
sub
okay.
zero. Yeah, he was doing that,
Yeah.
and then they tried to prosecute him for it too, and all that kind of stuff, and he was able to get out of it. And he eventually died in a car accident back in 2021, I believe. And then so that's what he went even deeper was after he came back from Standing Rock was he started documenting
What's Standing
um
Rock? That's a place
uh,
or an event?
both. It's so
Okay.
Standing Rock is an Indian reservation where Sitting Bull
Okay.
and all those guys are from.
Okay.
And Vine Deloria Jr. That when you said that was a podcast before it was a podcast, that he's kind of like known as the first American Indian intellectual, who's
Okay.
actually who started and he wrote a famous book called Custer Died for Your Sins and God is Red, and then he documents like the um was it the military industrial complex and God is Red kind of
Okay.
goes in
Yeah. Yeah.
stuff and how he talks about how we come from our infrastructure here is based on the Christian religion that says that the first man took a bite of the apple and damned all of creation and yada yada yada, and right then and there shows how dysfunctional that that system is. And then so he's just sitting there questioning it, you know,
Yeah.
from an indigenous standpoint. And
Yeah.
then so so it goes into what Marat and me and I were talking about, because you know how we are when we get together is we're like working and we have different ways of doing things, and then we were starting to butt heads. And then when we talked to you, we were talking about I'm like, we've come a long way, haven't we? He's like, yeah. And he goes, and we got off the phone, got off that call with you, and he goes, Chris made it easier for himself by going over there. I go, huh? I go, because look at us, dude. I know what you have, that you have nice stuff, and then you know how to take care, and you know how to handle your business and stuff. I go, and I'm doing the same thing now, just on a different level. My is is I think I can survive over here off of $1,200 a month, which
Yeah.
is phenomenal.
Yeah. Yeah.
Phenomenal, I guess. And then I can only imagine what he and I go and look at me as I still have to like kind of hustle a little bit and be at certain places,
Yeah.
and do a little work and everything like that. And I can only imagine how he is. And then I go, and then he goes, and I go, now think about Chris David. Is he's over there and he's just chilling out and then going to, doing whatever it is and eating his, fruits and vegetables and stuff like that. And here we are, as we got to worry about paying for our car payments just to stay in the game. You got to pay, X amount for, insurance, registration, gas. now gas is super expensive. It's like $5 here in California, anywhere between like 4.69
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
five. And then so you have to pick and choose on who you actually want to go see now.
Yeah.
Like, is it worth it for me to, because everywhere here in like Placer County and Sacramento is you're looking at driving like an hour. You're looking
Yeah.
at driving an
Because of traffic.
is there's traffic that goes to Nevada
Just get
City.
on that light rail, man.
I did know. I did when I first got off the res and I started hanging out back here. That's all I did
Yeah.
is and then Anderson was looking at me like I was a scumbag. He was like, because he picked me up and I went and did a job for him, and then he just dropped me off at some over by the Galleria, and I was by the Galleria, across on the Rockland side by like Ross and all that,
I didn't
and
know.
then
Okay, yeah.
Justice Spillner, he Facebooked. So I looked at my Facebook. He was like, "Hey, were you just standing on the corner?" Blah blah blah. And then I text him back, and then he's like, "Hey, come over to my house. I'm behind the fountains." And so I walked over to his place, and he couldn't believe that I was just walking around. I'm like, "Well, because nobody walks,
Yeah.
you know." But that's what I told Anderson. I was like, "Well, dude, I don't have any bills because I just came from the res. I got my power's on, and that's the only thing I pay for. The only thing I need is some walking around money." So, and he goes, "Well, if you can make it to this area and then you can count cars for my dad's company." And then so I took the light rail all the way down there, and he goes, "If you make it there, then I'll pick you up afterwards." And I go, "All right." So I did it. And he asked me, he goes, "How many people from the res would actually do what you just did?" I go, "Probably none." I go, "How many people do you know would do what I just did?" And he's all, "None."
Yeah.
And I go, "Yeah." I go, "See, dude, that's the wrestling mentality." Because I asked Coach Reyes too, and I asked him, I go, "Coach, I'm all, who the hell wakes up at 4:30 in the morning, rides their bike past Sierra College, goes over the hill on Sierra College Boulevard into Roseville, and then has to open up a gym, and then at 5 in the morning, and then has to work until like 9, and then works out at the gym, then rides over to Sierra College, goes to school, and then fucking wrestles, and then rides home in the dark, and then pretends that he's going to study, and then goes to sleep, and then does the same thing over and over." And he's all, "A crazy motherfucker." I go, "I guess, coach, because I was never supposed to even graduate, was I?" He's all, "Nope." And I go, "Damn," And then but and then Coach Scott, as we were talking about the same thing too, is I showed him as I showed him, I'm all, "Look, coach, I came within like seven people of Elon Musk." And then I go, "Look, here's the manufacturing design engineer hitting me up. And then here's our little hierarchy. You can see who he answers to. And then he's only like 7 people." And
Yeah.
because, oh, and then here's another thing is where I got humbled is here I am trying to play the disenfranchised American Indian, and this Bulgarian guy, senior manufacturing engineer. He goes, "Where are you from?" And I go, "From right here." He said, "What do you mean right here?" I go, "Right here." And I stomped the ground with my foot. And I go, 100 years ago, my grandma's people were running around naked, living in caves right here. And he goes, "My people are still living in caves." And fucking like, damn, man, that guy's fucking cold,
Yeah.
But then the way that he warmed up to me, because I go, "You're from Bulgaria?" He's like, "Yeah." I go, "Man," I was like, I would never even know about Bulgaria, but you guys always have like a few good wrestlers in the Olympics, because one of your guys beat my one of my favorite wrestlers, Kerry Colat. And then he's like, and then that was when we became friends.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And then I became locked in with them was because I was quoting like all the Arnold Schwarzenegger movies and everything like that, and then he saw all the Arnold Schwarzenegger movies, and then we were talking about sci-fi, and I go, "Look at it like this, dude." I go, "Elon probably didn't even fucking make all this shit." I go, "Elon is probably like in that movie, the Arnold Schwarzenegger movie, Total Recall, is there just the fucking corporation that happened to find some alien technology on some Indian reservation before the federal government did, and now they're looking cooler than the federal government is because they got better technology." And you can see everybody look at each other like, "Holy shit!" And I go, "My close," but yeah, all kinds of see, we could go on for days, huh?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to take off.
Wrap.
I was gonna meet somebody at 12 for for one. Well, no, we will. We're gonna have to yeah, we'll have to meet up again and go down some deep rabbit holes. Of course, we didn't even cover. Should have done a better introduction. Well, I'll give you a little introduction at the beginning. So just yeah, who you are and everything. But you're gonna be one of my regulars because we're gonna go deep. All right.
Yeah.
All right.
Hey, let's go. Let's go gums deep, like C. David licking a booty hole.
All right, man. Thanks for leaving us off with that. I'll see you in next time. Enjoy
Hey, not
off the land.
not balls deep, gums deep.
All right. All right. See you later.